Hey guys, welcome to Germany and welcome to Munich. And we're standing right next to the new BMW 2 Series Coupe. To learn more about the car, I have with me Jose Casas. He's in charge of the design of the car, but you might have seen his work before. He was also responsible for an exciting car, a vision car called M Vision Next. So he's got quite some experience. So I'm gonna let Jose walk us around the car, kind of talk about the design, and we're gonna do a short Q&A. So let's maybe start at the front and tell me about the car, tell me how the idea of this design started, and then we can take it from there.
Horatio, thank you for having me. I mean, always happy to see you and to
Same
talk
here.
about cars. Yeah, and hello to everybody. So yeah, for sure. I mean, if you want, we can make like a
let's
walkthrough. Let's talk a
yeah.
little bit on the front. So, I mean, as you guys can see, this has a very special front, right? We have a very nice, proud front, right? Full of energy, full of sportiness. But I mean, some of the cool things that we try to do in this car is like, let's go into detail, like for example, the kidney, right?
Sure.
The kidney, we have not the typical frame, right? And if you can see, we call it like a sleeve, you know, like when you have a suit and then you have a sleeve.
Okay.
So basically this is like a sleeve design where you can, it's like the black frame and then you have very thin just chrome part around it, right? And the other thing is, it's cool about this kidney is like we don't have these chrome bars as well. You can see we have this shape, these lamellas, which actually they open and close, which is a very cool. They look pretty cool when you see it. And I mean, the idea behind that was to have like a funnel design on the kidney, so not only like a chrome and part of the decoration, but actually totally functional. On this one, and of course we have the shark nose on the side view, which is quite BMW, right?
Sure. What was your decision to go with this type of frame, right? So it's a little more elongated than what we've seen on recent designs. Anything behind that story?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, recently the 4 Series came out, M4, I mean, they have vertical grills. So for this model in specific, we really wanted to keep it in the horizontal way, because of course the car is a smaller car, right?
Yeah.
So you want to emphasize this compact look.
Sure.
So we thought elongated kidney and horizontally could fit better. And of course, it also matches more with the headlamps, right? The headlamps are only one module. You've seen already that it only has one module. It doesn't have the double eye, and because of that, you get more space on the front to play with in the horizontal way.
Okay.
Something also special about this light, for example, is that we don't have actually the normal Blumenbank. Or for the people that doesn't know what is that, is actually the offset between the lamp and the bumper.
Okay.
And we always maybe fade a line, or there is always a soft volume here.
Sure.
But in this case, we treat it as a big, you can see that this is only like one big volume.
Okay.
We put the headlamp on, and then we actually cut it off the volume. So actually the outline of this headlamp is the result of cutting basically the surface.
Gotcha.
So the daylight, right, as we call it, it's the signature light, right? This is like, it stays on, and then you have, of course, the main beam. So of course, our 2002 had a rounded light. So obviously it gets too retro, right? If we only do a rounded circle.
Sure.
So we actually try to have this kind of a movement, right? That implies half circle, right? But of course we have to have tension on the lines, and of course then we added the golden trim back there, which is a bit on the homage side. You know, you remember maybe the homage that we did a few years ago, which had also this chrome golden piece, which actually adds three-dimensionality. You know, we have the light is actually turning a lot into the side, so you see a lot of these elements. So it has to be designed very careful. You know, have a more detail, and of course it has to look sold and premium, right? At the end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So now, if we stay with the front still, I mean, compared to the outgoing model with the predecessor, it's definitely a little bit busier, right? So I can see a lot of sharp creases, you know, a lot of sharp shapes. Well, versus the previous one was a little more smoother. What's the story behind that?
Of course. I mean, we wanted really to get a sporty and, let's say, more aggressive look. You know, of course, our predecessor is more calm. You know, maybe a little bit more elegant, as you said, right? But for this particular model, we say, you know what? You have a 2 Series, a compact car, it's a coupe. You know, it should be fun to drive. It should look like really sporty. Right? Now, you have this bumper, which is the MSP, but we also have the AG version. Which what is cool about it is like you get already in the AG model, you get the shape or the design of an MSP, right? With a V shape, which it's actually quite cool. And for this one, since we already had such a sporty front, you know, we had to basically figure it out. Okay, what
make it even sportier?
What can we make even sportier, right? And then, so you can see here, for example, you have these very technical lines, right? That they become a bit more tense, right? More straight. You know, everything is very technical. You can see even on the details here. You know, this piece here, the black, you know, all these, they are kind of blades, right? And what I find exciting about this is that you actually generate a lot of contrast between, you know, you might say, okay, it's busier down here, but actually if you see here, you know, it's just one clean, nice surface, right? One clean, nice volume, and of course then you add the excitement down here with all these technical elements, you know, these triangular shapes, which actually, you know, they support the kidney, you know, to make it look more focused.
Gotcha. So, of course, the M enthusiast, purist, one thing they've noticed right away was the power dome. And I think most of the people like it, but they feel like it should have been reserved maybe just for a full M car and not necessarily for an M performance car. So tell me, what was the decision behind this to include it on the M240i?
Of course, I mean, again, this car, we tried all the tricks, let's say, to make it more compact, right? We wanted a 2 Series, 2002. The coolest part about this car is that it's very compact, right? So actually, this power dome, you know, when you exaggerate design elements, you make the car look smaller. So in this case, it's not the exception. And actually, the power dome actually help us to reduce the length between the windshield and the kidney, right? So when you see it on side view, you actually don't read one single curve like we do in other models, which are more elegant, which emphasize this long nose, right? On this case, we said, okay, we have a quite long bonnet. Let's shrink it, and then that line actually, if you see it from side view, you know, it actually stops there, and then it creates another line, shape. Right? So you shrink it.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, cool. All right, the next one on the list of people that they're like, why did they do that? M side mirrors. So clearly, I mean, let me just jump right in. It's a strategy by the M Performance Automobile division to kind of have that M, you know, DNA in it, and I get it. But I guess people always say, well, you know, we've always had the M mirrors on just M cars, and now it's on everything, you know, and they're not that special anymore. So, what do you think about this one?
Well, I think it's cool. You know, I think if people can be closer to an M version with this model, I think it's cool for them because, you know, you might not want a full M car. You know? You might, it might be too pricey or it might be too much for you, but you have the option to have it on this one. So I think it's quite cool. And not only this, but we also get the rear reflectors already vertical as well, which was a very iconic M feature, right? So you also get that on this model. So, yeah.
We'll take a look at that in a second. So maybe now we focus on the side view. Talk a little bit about the creases here, the Ziegler line and some of those things. So let me step to the side so we can see the car in full. Jose, we're looking at the side view and I see quite a few lines. I can see the character line, the Ziegler line running across, typical to a BMW, but there are also quite a few creases, you know, and shapes. Can you tell me, you know, the idea behind those and what they're trying to do?
Of course. I mean, we wanted to do, of course, you know, the shoulder line, you know, very BMW. Of course, this is heritage from BMW, right? So as we said from the beginning, 2002, it also had this line, so that's quite of a strong feature. But I think what is cool about it is that you have a very good mix between sharp lines, which is, I mean, main lines, you have 1 and 2, right, on the body side. We have another vertical line there. I have also gotten some questions, why is it there? That's aerodynamic purposes, right? And so, but these two, you know, which are the main horizontal character lines, create this really precision. You know, they look very precise, but at the same time, you have the combination of this line, and then you have these triangular muscles, right, that runs out of it, right, and then they go back into the front fender, into the front wheelhouse, and into the rear wheelhouse. And I must say, what is cool about this is that when you see the car in front 3/4, the fenders are tricking your eye to make the car wider. You know, this theme actually, when you see the car from front 3/4, it looks like it's sticking, I don't know, that much.
Just because of the shadows that's created by that shape?
Exactly. So this, and the reason is because the angle of it, the diagonal angle, and the fact that it's shooting into the rear wheel, it completely makes it way wider. And this is coming also, again, talking about the M world, right? It's kind of this added on design that we use a lot in the M cars. And this is kind of this philosophy when we think about designing this car was like, okay, the ultimate drift machine. So added on design on the fender is a must, right?
Okay, so I'm going to tell the other thing that I've seen some comments on, and probably I was one of them too. The spat, I think it's called a spat?
Spat, yeah.
Oh, spat?
Spats, yeah.
So what's the reason behind those? I think I understand a little bit. What's the reason? Mainly because if you have really wide tires and wheels, you need to cover that gap.
Yeah.
But is that the only reason why it's on the car?
Well, I mean, aesthetically, wider is better, right?
Okay. So there are no regulations behind it that you have to have them on in order to cover that gap when the wheel is sticking out?
I actually don't know that one. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
But, yeah.
So mostly aesthetic then.
All right. It might be there's some other reasons as well.
Okay. So the last thing that we left out on actually a couple of things that we left out on the side, flushed handles, that's one, and then also the side skirt. I mean, that's something that you don't usually see standard on the car. You usually see it from M Performance parts.
Yeah, I mean, something that's cool about it is that with this, I mean, you only get it in the MSP, right? In the RG, you have the body color, right? So that's one point to differentiate it. But what is also nice is that, you know, at the end of this rocker, right, you have the horizontal line, but then you go down here, and then you go down here, right? So basically, it brings the visual weight down, and it also, again, supports the theme of these muscles, right?
Understood.
So, of course, it's more sporty, and for me, I mean, I really think it's a cool feature on the body side. Gotcha. We also have the Hofmeister. As you see, we left it super.
So that's a slight interpretation of a Hofmeister King, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not your typical iconic, it's a slight interpretation. So tell me why that changed, because clearly at every new BMW that's come out, the Hofmeister King, it's not what it used to be, and people are very vocal about that.
Yeah, we try a lot of, as designer, you always try different shapes and forms and angles, and as you said, all our newest cars, they have a different interpretation of it, but for this particular car, you know, it's pure, you know. It's a BMW compact coupe, you know. So for that, we thought a more traditional Hofmeister could fit on it, and I think it worked quite good, because if you see in this specific car, if you see the ratio between this point here and the wheel arch, you know. It's quite small, and this is super important for a BMW. This is what it gives, you know, the stance and the strength of a rear-wheel drive, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Understood. Flushed door handles.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I think it's
that's new. That's definitely new. I mean, it looks cleaner that way, but why did you decide to go with that type of design?
Well, I mean, we have to consider that some, you know, the door handles, is the headache from a designer, right? Sometimes.
Because of aerodynamics properties, or just?
Well, they have to have a certain angle. They have to have certain, you know, restrictions.
So it's more of an engineering thing that you need to take into account.
Exactly. So when you design the body side of a car, then you think, oh, maybe, you know, a line that wanted here, it cannot go through the door handle, right? But I mean, honestly, I'm proud of this one, because you can see, you know, it's like completely part of the side panel, and that simplicity. So
it's
integrated
vertically too.
Totally implemented. I mean, if the shape is rounder here or sharper, for me it was more important to get it like really nice and clean. Okay, perfect.
All right, so let's move to the back. There is quite a bit to talk about there, so let's do that. All right, Jose, so we're at the rear end of the 2 Series Coupe. Clearly, there were some discussions around this one. And I would say it's nothing personal. I think every new car that comes out, there are always discussions around the design. And one, I think that shows that people are passionate about the brand. So even though sometimes might look like a negative comment, to me sometimes shows passion as well. So with that being said, walk me through the design. I mean, clearly the taillights are a little bit controversial because they're not what you're used to in a BMW. So let's start with that maybe, so taillights.
Sure. I mean, first of all, I must say, the rear was meant to be designed to make the car as wide as possible, right? As wide as we can get.
Sure.
So coming from the shoulder, from this side, right? From the side, you can see that actually this surface makes a clean transition towards the back. So with that, we use this framing sharp line, right? That in our MSP model bumper, it goes around the light and goes back here.
Okay.
But in our AG model, it goes actually down and it touches the diffuser, which is even more unique.
Understood.
Now, what is cool about this is that you actually carry over the surface that comes from the side completely into the back, and that gives you a super nice shoulder. When you see this car from the back running, the first thing you see, like, wow, that car is really, really wide looking.
Yeah, it is wide, yeah.
This was a combination with the greenhouse. The greenhouse is a very upright greenhouse. The tumble home is very, very upright, and that makes it very cheeky, very 2002, like you see the cabin, and then you see these big, nice hips, right, which everybody likes. Now, let's talk about the tail lamp.
The taillights, yeah.
The tail lamp, obviously, we had already set up this sharp line, right? So it comes from the body. So we tried to design something that was, first of all, iconic, right? A tail lamp that actually helps to bring all that width, right? Okay. So that's the reason, for example, this tail lamp actually runs quite a lot towards the front.
Okay.
Of course, to reduce then the distance between the rear wheel and tail lamp. So that's the first thing, So having that in mind, then we had to design. We had to have a design that actually will basically have a lot of three-dimensionality because of that. Because you cannot actually, just go more and more without anything. And then, of course, this design it comes as well from our latest strategy, which we call it the pulse design, in this case. And then, so you have the pulse design here, which actually this line connects with the trunk cut here. So it goes actually all the way through, right? This one, the Zeke line or the shoulder line actually connects to that angle. So when you see the car from this view, it actually goes this way, and this one goes that way. So it has some logic, right? And then what I was proposing at the beginning is to have a circular tail lamp, right? Okay. Maybe to retro, maybe to generic these days.
That was something in your sketches from what I remember seeing.
Exactly. Yeah. So we find a compromise in BMW. We always try to make it look modern, after all. And then so what's cool is that you have this daylight, right? Yeah. But then you have a pentagon in here, which when you see it from far, actually it reminds you like a race car, this kind of like very small circles on the back, which I think the combination is quite cool.
Sure, yeah.
Of course, we have this shape, there's other elements, that support this. Then we also have the vertical reflector, which is, I think, also makes the car more structured and also make it very wide.
Gotcha. So so my last point on the taillights, and we're not getting into the conversation there about the design choice, but clearly the sketches show the taillight with a little different design pointing upwards, and I think that looked really, really nice. So I can tell, where you were going with that. So, but this one turned out good too. So, all right. So with that being said, the other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about, the entire rear end, it's definitely a bit more complex, and I would say, like, again, busy compared to the previous generation. The other one was a little bit smoother, less surfaces. Again, do you want to explain a little bit about that, design decision there?
Sure. I mean, let's start with the spoiler deck, right?
Okay.
Normally, in most of our models, we have a negative section here that goes from the spoiler down, so you catch a lot of shadow. So that's very BMW, if we can call it that way. But again, being this car, like a bit rebellic.
Sure.
We already, propose one module lights on the front.
Yeah.
We want to give it a personality to this car. You know, if it's completely light or not, but we really wanted to be its own character. So what we did on here is like you have the smallest light shadow
I can see it,
recess here.
I can see the reflection nicely too. Yeah.
Exactly, but then you have this really nice positive surface, right?
Okay.
Which changes completely the how you see a deck, a spoiler deck from BMW, right? And then you have obviously a very aggressive diffuser in the back, right? I mean, you have one volume here, which is clean as well. You only have one line here, right? You have obviously you have to put your number plate in there, but then we have all this black, glossy black spoiler, which actually complements the side rocker panel.
Gotcha.
And then with this, again, we thought, okay, racing, drift machine, it should show power, this car. It should show excitement.
Yeah.
And with that, we did the freeform blend exhaust pipes, combined with this very graphical approach on the diffuser.
Gotcha.
You have these lamellas, this kind of, and I think all together makes sense for this M version, M240i. For the AG, it's another story. Maybe another time I can show you the AG, the differences between them. But again, this car for me, it should look compact, cheeky, joyful, happy, right? Like we designed it, and not so serious. Not too serious.
Not too serious. All right, so thanks for explaining that. Let's move to the front. We'll do the ending there. I want to ask you one more question, and then we can wrap it up. All right, so thanks again for giving me an overview of the design, but I do have one final question. If you were to pick one color that would complement the design best and will be your favorite too, which one would it be?
I think I'd take the purple.
The purple?
Yeah.
Was there a decision-making process when you guys picked the launch color or the marketing color as being purple?
Yeah, I mean, there's always discussions, right? We have our color and trim department, which are mostly women, and they are very passionate about their colors. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there was discussions. I mean, at the end, I think the Thunder Night Metallic, which is the name, and only for this car. Yeah. I've seen the car, for example, in blue sky, right? And it's absolutely stunning. I mean, you can see blue, a lot of tones on this paint. It catches some red as well, so it gives you a little bit of this trip of colors, which I think is pretty cool. The gray I also like. Yeah.
The Brooklyn gray.
The Brooklyn
gray. Yeah, that's
gray.
a great color. Yeah.
And I think in that one maybe you don't see so much the surfacing, but you see the volume, a bit more contrast between the black parts and the graphics. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I can't wait to see it in like black sapphire or frozen black or something like that, because I think it will look really, really mean that way. So, yeah, very cool. Well, once again, thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the time to learn more about the car. And guys, thanks for watching as always. Stay tuned. We'll have a lot more videos coming up. Jose, thank you.
Horatio, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you as
always.
You.